A wonderful good evening. This is Bastian Jones for Macht dir Lebenslust. That's the radio show from Berlin, Go for Lust for Life. And I welcome you with a young, attractive, very successful young lady who is in public relations. Could you first say who you are?
Thanks for being here, first of all. My name is Melanie Marten, and as you said, I work in public relations since 2010, and I just recently started PR on the Go, which is a do-it-yourself PR platform for creative entrepreneurs.
Okay, let's start in the beginning. I mean, public relations. I know the classical definition, which says, okay, public relation is the B2B, the business-to-business communication, which comprises people like publicists who are writing the texts for the press, for the media, and handing them over through their networking channels, for instance. Or those are agencies, PR agencies, who are working for brands, startups, for artists, etc. pp. But you have, I mean, your way of thinking is it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. Not in terms when I'm hired as a PR consultant, so you get the classical instruments of doing public relations, including content marketing, press releases, ghostwriting, social media marketing, the whole package you get us. With PR on the Go, I definitely aim for a different strategy because I want the creative founders to start doing PR by themselves.
I mean, you're talking about creative people whom you have a lot in Berlin, in cities like Dublin, London, New York, Los Angeles, of course, yes, or in Tokyo. But there are ordinary entrepreneurs or people who are running a company who are not necessarily in a creative branch, but who have a creative approach. Are you linking to them as well or not?
Yes, so at the moment I divided the creative industries, as I still like to call them, into 12 sections, which reaches from like the arts, film, design, travel, food, but also local businesses for like small businesses, which you might mean by those entrepreneurs that have a creative approach, but rather run a traditional business and start off with a small business, and startups in the tech industry. But I do think that to be creative is the way. To have a creative approach is the way to success nowadays.
Yeah, the creative way and the networking aspect, I think. I mean, you started out with internships, you worked for music producers. I remember you told me that you've done music by yourself as well. You worked for fashion labels, for various kinds of creative people as intern. And there you got an inside look how the business works in its branches. And that's the way where you're coming from, isn't it? From the practice, not from a university that you've studied PR or marketing or...
Totally, I was always more a practical person, so in my early 20s I just said, first of all, like, I left my hometown for a year to be in another city, so I lived in England for a year, and I came back and said, like, with all this inspiration, like, what is it I want to do, like most people ask themselves at the beginning of 20, and I think this got... Maybe not most, because most people just like start studying and continuing studying. But I'm the kind of person I need to do things to find out, to first of all learn, and I have to do the things, and then my aim was to find out what I want to do. So in all of those insights, I was always like go to the coolest companies, work with the coolest people. I know I was a lot out there networking, clubbing, and also I met a lot of cool people in a cool city like Berlin and started working for them. So I said like, oh, like for example with the music producer, I met him in a club and said like, I know who you're working with, I admire your work, I want to work for you. And then next day I was at the studio and started working. So then this was the way that I found out, like, what am I doing for those people? And it always had a lot to do with positioning, with networking, with branding, what I did for them. So in the end, I found out, like, what I'm doing is PR, and then I focused on this, and then I actually studied journalism to give this a bit of a basis.
But you have the life-to-life approach, which is maybe very American, very West Coast, I would say. I mean, but there is a certain instinct I think you need. You were telling me, yes, you had a notion, you had an idea. Okay, this brand is great. This artist you like to work for and work with, to that everybody is benefiting out of it. And this is something that you can't learn anywhere. I think, is it inborn, or are you that kind of outgoing person from the start, that you were talkative, that you were communicative? I mean, those are traits that are necessary to do PR.
Yes, they are, but also it's necessary to sit back and do the hard work. Like, so there are a lot of people that start figuring out, like, oh, I want to become a PR person, and then they stop really quickly, because it's not about just networking, being out there in clubs. Or, you know, like, it's not just all about this. It's a lot about, like, sitting back, writing a good press release, coming up with good content, with the messaging and positioning, do the research of all the media outlets out there in the countries that your brand or the company you wanna get out there is active in. And this really takes also, like, you need the discipline to sit back. So I'm an extrovert as well as I'm an introvert. When I can, like, sit for 12 hours behind my laptop and just do the research work and the strategy, and I love writing. This is very inwards way. And then at the same time, when it's all ready for the launch, I love it to be all out there and support the launch, yeah. But then as well, it is also important. I'm not the person that gets the interviews usually. Like, this is one of thing for me today with you, yeah. And so you don't get the fame afterwards. That's very important to know as well in PR. And I'm happy that I can send, like, oh, the artist, do this interview. Like, sometimes I'm thinking, like, wow, there's, like, so many press and cameras in front of you. I would, like, be so nervous. And then I'm just like, really, it wows me that they make it, right, when they get the opportunity. But I at the same time, I was lucky to have worked with great people, but I wouldn't call myself a talent scout. So they were also like, I'm not the one that finds, like, oh, this person is going to be successful. I wouldn't say that I know this. So I also thought about some startup projects where I thought, like, this has a big potential, and then I had to realize, oh, there are some pieces missing, that, you know, like the willpower or the knowledge and some character. So I also had, like, projects that were not successful, which also, like, hurts me then. Like, it's not just the founders that need to find out, like, this approach isn't that well. It also, like, me as a PR person wants this to become successful, was a bit like upset about things when things are not too successful. Yeah.
Very interesting indeed. But we are here in Berlin, and we are here in a country that invented bureaucracy. Okay, besides Austria, for sure. Huh? And okay, you are a startup with Pro on the go. I mean, but you are not that kind of business woman who is doing the educational way on the one hand, but is doing the path that is path for startups. For instance, okay, I'm starting this agency or your work with your homepage, which you've done by yourself. By the way, you are programming it by yourself. But the question is, have you got a business plan? Have you got mentors and coaches where you get advice? Or how do you start into your startup business?
Yeah. So I was running an agency, classical PR agency, for 5 years until I got back to working as a freelancer and then focus on setting up PR on the go as a startup. And with PR on the go, it's my approach of how I really believe things do get over into people. Like, I don't start webinars, no way, and then please listen to me because I'm the one who knows it all, not at all. I work with other PR people from all over the world, PR and marketing experts who provide their input for PR on the go. And this will be even more so in the future for everything that's going to come on the platform. Because I don't want to say like I'm the master in everything and I can make anyone successful. It's not the way. So my way is like test it yourself, because then you can see like why it's not always about the PR person. Maybe it's the product you need to adjust, or see your talents are somewhere else. And the approach is like how I am, I have to say, very practical. Like I love this format of small tips. So I'm telling you, like, submit your designs at this platform. Very to the point. So I don't start a YouTube video for this. I don't say subscribe to my webinar, look at this and that, and or have like long how-tos. That's not my approach, indeed. And I think there could be an opportunity in this new way of providing really small tips, very on-hand tips. Yeah.
And the major part of your work is research on the internet, isn't it? And okay, and to cherish your contacts you already have.
Yeah, totally. So I love it to research on the internet, but I this totally combines like with the clients and projects I have. So with every new project, I always have a new learning. So when because I'm researching for those projects, but my learnings I also publish on PR on the go. So this research part very much comes naturally with me. And then I love to network, obviously, which is my job as well. And then to get in contact with other PR marketing experts. So I interview them or I provide them with a questionnaire and ask them to provide their best tips. And they just do it. And they usually like to do it. And journalists as well, they start now with the journalist pitching guide, which is a new section on the platform. They start to give advices to creative entrepreneurs on how to pitch them. So this is brilliant input.
And what are your goals for the future time, maybe for the next year?
So this very much, I have a personal goals. So I love combining traveling and working from abroad. I want to see the world, but like make this possible with working on PR on the go. So I can work from anywhere with this, and I want to do this. So that's why we'll be off to Indonesia in a few days, where you're from as well. So that's my personal approach, to have something what I can do my way, like that suits my lifestyle. And on the professional base, like where I want us to go, it's like very open. I want us to have a swift a change in thinking how to think about PR. Like, I think everyone knows about there was so much serious and so much publicity on advertising, you know, like they were in like cool TV shows and all, so everyone knows like, oh, this is the way like how advertisers work. They come up with a cool slogan and provocative picture, and then it's on posters all over town. But I think hardly anyone knows what PR is, and I want to really have this intrinsic desire to tell people what is PR. So they know, and you can tell. Like personally enjoy it when I know someone knows how to. Has a few tools at hand, like knows how to position themselves, because it's always good to know, even if you say like you're not an entrepreneur yourself, but it's always good to know, like when you go for a job interview, everyone has something to sell all the time. Or when you work in your job, it's all very much related to PR as well.
Indeed, it is, yeah. Well, there are the classical approaches that I hire maybe as entrepreneur or as artist or so, a publicist. And this institution of a publicist is not that popular on the continent, but very popular in England, in Australia, in the US, in the whole Anglophile world. And the publicist is writing the press text for the media and is sending it to the contacts and to the network that publicist has. And you pay them a fee for that service and for the contacts that you get lanced and pitched by any kind of magazine you like to be in. But you're doing it vice versa. I mean, you are telling your clients then, are you calling them clients? That's the first question. And second, you are giving them advice, okay, submit there, go there with your text, and I fly over and have a look on it, whether it's congruent or whether it's stimmig, you say in German, yeah, or not. And that's your part of the work, isn't it?
Yeah. So I call them. Those are not my clients. Those are my users. And then I have content contributors, which are the PR and marketing experts, as well as journalists who provide what the users can gain out of it. And what I advise, so we also have like authors. Authors are a creative industry as well. Like, why shouldn't, or we have musicians that very often write the song text themselves. So you have like those people can, or filmmakers, they write they make the storytelling for their books. They can write. So I really asked them, like, why not write a press release? Why not write your artist statement yourself? You don't need the classical press release format anymore. Why not send an artist statement and get in contact over LinkedIn or Twitter with the journalists yourself? And then the ones who don't have the talent to write, there are also a lot who are more visual. Those I would really recommend to get a good copywriter. You don't have to try it yourself, but get a good copywriter and then pitch it yourself. Because this is also like when I'm thinking of this, the users as they start out, they need a bit of an entrepreneurial thinking, even if they're an artist, to make it. Then and they don't have a budget or a very small budget. And I'm thinking, like, what would I do? I would hire a copywriter if wouldn't be good in writing, and then that's the most affordable way. So I'm very authentic there, very much into their thinking, because I've been working so close with creative people over the last 8 or 9 years, longer.
So you turn out to be a digital nomad, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'm very happy that it turned out this way, because I had quite a few job offers with international corporations, and I found out, like, this is what I want to do. I want to work with creative people. They might not be able to afford someone with my PR experience, but PR on the go could be a way to make this work. And I want to travel, I want to see the world. I want to live in different places. So yeah, that's what you call a digital nomad nowadays. Yeah.
So you're not bound to location. You could be from everywhere working where there is internet, for sure. Yeah. Exactly. No?
Yeah, totally loaded.
Okay, last question. Tell us maybe of one or two projects that you assisted and which had been your favorite projects. I remember there had been one project called Die Guillotine, the guillotine, or similar ones.
Yeah. So Die Guillotine stands for the guillotine in German, and this is definitely one of my favorite projects. So this was started in 2012 with, at the time, 2 art students from the University of Arts in Berlin, and they built a massive guillotine. So one artist was always into building deathly machines from history, and the other artist is more like oriental, colorful artworks, and then they came together to build a 4-meter high guillotine with a 40-kilo knife, and then they painted it very colorful. And then to promote this, we said like, we're going to slaughter a sheep, like make a voting whether or not a sheep should be killed. So I actually bought a sheep. So you might think like in England you can buy a sheep everywhere. Here it wasn't that easy. Going from Berlin to the countryside, you bought a sheep, costs about 30 euros. We got a beautiful sheep. And then we did a photo session. It was very super provocative. We made a photo session of the sheep, and then we let the knife fall down like with a boom. And then we put this all on the internet on one website saying like, okay, you can vote yes or no. Shall this sheep be killed or no? Yes or no? To show democracy. And then it was all over local newspapers, on the cover of local newspapers, like those pervert art students want to kill a sheep for their art. And it started to attract international attention, and it was everywhere until we published the news like this guillotine was sold. This was such a massive publicity success. And then we said, like, let's come up with some new news, because we have like 2 weeks of international publicity. People are all over the place, like, for how we can aim to kill this sheep. PETA got involved and made a campaign saying, like, look, you're going all in for this sheep, but you're eating meat every day. And so everyone seemed to be involved in the news coverage. And then we thought, like, okay, it's 2 more weeks until the voting stops. Let's come up with some new news. And then I just sent a press release. Oh, this guillotine got sold for $2.3 million to a U.S. collector. And because everyone was so excited to get new news, the news agencies spread it in Germany and all over America. So this news spread despite no one ever asking is this true. And we thought, like, did we just invent fake news? So this was amazing. Like the popularity then switched also amongst like the masses, but also amongst the institutions. So before the University of Arts wanted to kick out those students for coming up with such a provocative action, and then when they found out this got sold, those artists were invited to hold an event, and then the masses were saying like, wow, this is really cool what you actually did, very clever. And then there was a final press conference telling everyone, look, we never had the sheep, like we gave it back after we took a lot of photos of it, you know, like in different surroundings, and put a chain on, and yeah, so this was fantastic because it was so much fun. It was like provocative. I love political things. People are not political anymore in Germany, especially. So I don't want to bash about Generation Y, right? But it's not all about your makeup tutorials on YouTube. Yeah. It shouldn't be. So I love anything that's very provocative, and to when artists realize like they're artists, they can do and say whatever they want, and whatever is needed, they are the ones to do it. And when they don't do it, no one else does it, despite maybe politicians. Then we let the politicians do and speak too much and provide them too much attention, and those are not the ones that should receive that much attention. Yeah.
Sounds very Berlinish, very up to date, very zeitgeist, and I wish you all the best. Thanks for the interview.
Oh, thank you so much.